You've just opened your eyes and congrats. Welcome to Star Wars Galaxy. Not to ruin the moment or anything, but spoiler alert, you're not gonna make it. Whether you're a Jedi, a Sith, a Stormtrooper, or just trying to sell some scrap for dinner, the odds of living a peaceful and emotionally stable life out here are basically zero. In this video, we're diving deep into what it actually feels like to live in the Star Wars universe. So grab a snack, get comfy, and let the galaxy fade around you. And if you end up enjoying this video, consider subscribing. It helps a lot. Now, let's begin. You ever hear someone say, "You were born for greatness"? Sounds nice, right? Well, in Star Wars, that phrase comes with some conditions. So, congratulations. You've been born Force-Sensitive. You're not even old enough to say your own name, and already there's some robed stranger knocking on your parents' door with a clipboard. See, the Jedi Order's got this long tradition of recruiting kids while they're still in diapers. They say the younger the better, before those dangerous attachments start to form, which is a polite way of saying, let's take the baby before it learns what love is. Your parents? They might be stunned, maybe honoured, maybe furious. Depends on what kind of life they live. But the Jedi are persuasive. They say things like, the child has great potential and it is the will of the Force. Jedi don't really do back and forth negotiations. Once they show up, it's kind of implied that this isn't optional. You're special, and special kids don't get to grow up like everyone else. So you're taken to Coruscant, massive city, trillions of people, and you're living inside this giant marble temple with people who all talk like they're narrating a nature documentary. You go from diapers to daily meditation. Your toys are replaced by training remotes that zap you if you don't block fast enough. And your bedtime stories? Mostly ancient Jedi parables about inner peace, control, and how to pretend you're not mad that someone just stole your snack bar during lunch. See, the Jedi don't believe in personal attachment. No parents, romance, or pet loath cat you secretly tuck under your robe. If you miss your mum, you're told to meditate. If you get angry, you're warned you're on the path to the dark side. If you cry, you're told to let go of your feelings and embrace serenity. You're 6. Serenity isn't a thing you understand yet. You barely know how to read. But the Order's serious about this stuff. They raise you to believe emotion is a tool, not a guide. Joy, fear, grief, all of it gets tucked behind that quiet, patient Jedi face. You don't throw tantrums here. You throw your lightsaber into perfect form. You grow up with the other younglings in what they call clans, little groups of kids who train together, eat together, and are basically your family now. There's the Bear Clan, the Hawk Clan, all kinds of names that sound cooler than what actually happens. Most of your day is a rotation between meditation, history lessons, lightsaber drills, and getting politely scolded for thinking too much about anything personal. And it's not like they're mean. It's not an abusive environment. You're not locked in a basement or anything. It's clean, respectful, and weirdly quiet. But it's cold, in that kind of, I know no one's going to hug me here kind of way. There's structure, there's peace, but there's not much warmth. Once you're old enough, the real pressure starts. You're expected to show growth, not physical, spiritual. You've got to learn how to suppress fear, deflect blaster bolts, negotiate like a senator, survive on strange planets, and not lose your mind when someone throws a rock at your face during Force training. If you're promising, a Jedi Knight or Master might take you on as their Padawan. That's the goal. You want to be picked. If not, well, they send you to one of the support corps, basically the Jedi version of a desk job. You're still using the Force, but instead of swinging a lightsaber, you're growing vegetables on dusty planets while wondering if you were ever good enough to begin with. And believe me, you feel that pressure. Nobody says it, but everyone knows it. Getting picked means you're going somewhere. Staying behind means you peaked at 11. Let's say you're lucky. You get chosen. You become a Padawan. You're traveling the galaxy now, maybe even carrying out missions. Sounds exciting, until you realize that Jedi missions often involve walking into politically unstable planets and trying to calm things down while everyone else has a gun. You're basically an unpaid diplomat with a glow stick. Then the Clone Wars begin. Now you're not only a monk, you're a general. A teenage general, by the way. You're still figuring out how to shave, and someone's handing you command over hundreds of clone troopers who've been bred for battle. They're all calling you sir, and you're expected to lead them into war zones like you actually know what you're doing. This is your life now. You're not a protector, you're a piece on a giant chessboard. You're being moved around the galaxy while the Senate argues over budgets and the Jedi Council tries to stay relevant. The clones? They're good to you, loyal, brave. They joke around sometimes, even give you a nickname. But you see how they look at you. You're the weird one in robes, you never sleep, you meditate instead. You don't get to talk about your dreams or cry when a trooper dies. You're expected to let it go. And then comes Order 66. The war ends, but not the way anyone expected. The temple burns, the council is dead. The Republic becomes the Empire. And you, if you're not already dead, you're now a fugitive. The galaxy doesn't remember you as a peacekeeper. It remembers you as a traitor. And even if you survive, hiding in some remote system, burying your lightsaber under the floorboards, it doesn't matter. You're a Force-Sensitive in a galaxy that now hunts Force-Sensitives. The few survivors try to lay low, others get caught by the Inquisitors. Some are turned, most are killed, but the thing about Jedi, they weren't even perfect to begin with. They meant well, sure, but the whole order was built around fear of failure, fear of emotion, fear of letting people be people. They raised generations of Force-sensitive kids in an environment where love was forbidden, fear was shameful, and thinking about your past was seen as weakness. You weren't taught how to live, you were taught how to serve, how to disappear into duty. And when that system collapsed, most of you didn't know how to function without it. Now, about the Force itself, that mysterious energy field that binds the galaxy together. It's not evil, it's not good either. It's a tool. It exists in all living things. Some people feel it more strongly than others. That's what you were born with, a strong connection. And instead of learning how to live with that naturally, you were thrown into a centuries-old institution with its own rigid view of how it should be used. The Jedi tested Force sensitivity by checking blood samples for midichlorian counts, tiny little organisms in your cells that basically act like signal boosters for the Force. The higher the count, the stronger your potential. Jedi recruiters looked for those counts in children across the galaxy, especially in areas with limited education or unstable governments. In other words, kids no one would miss. Some families gave their children up willingly. They believed in the Order, others resisted. There were cases where Jedi relocated children without much explanation. The ethics of that? Let's just say, it wouldn't go well on a parenting blog. All in all, being born Force-sensitive sounds exciting. And sure, in the movies, it leads to lightsaber duels, cool flips and mind tricks. But in reality, it means losing your name, your family, your voice, and in most cases, your future. You live a life full of rules. You grow up suppressing every natural emotion. You're sent to war before you hit adulthood. And when the galaxy turns on you, there's no one left to protect you, because your protectors were wiped out alongside you. So yeah, being born Force-sensitive in Star Wars, it's kind of like winning the worst lottery ever. You didn't choose this, you didn't ask for it, but the second that midichlorian count came back high, your story was written. And it doesn't end well. Let's say you survived long enough to grow up Force-sensitive, but the Jedi never got to you. Maybe your midichlorian count wasn't tested in time. Maybe your parents hid you. Maybe you were born way out in the Outer Rim where people don't exactly mail letters to Coruscant. And then one day, someone notices you. The ones who don't wear beige. You're still a kid, maybe 10, maybe younger, and there's a moment, could be, you got angry and something exploded. Could be, you got scared and suddenly everyone around you got thrown across the room. You didn't mean to hurt anyone, but the damage is done. You stood out. And in Star Wars, standing out is rarely a good thing, especially when the Sith are watching. They don't show up in a polite shuttle with temple paperwork and robes. It's usually one of two things. Either you're found by an Inquisitor, someone who used to be a Jedi and now works for the Empire, tracking down Force-sensitive kids, or you're picked up by some dark side cult that sees you as the next chosen one. Spoiler, you're not. They give you this creepy smile with words like, "I'm your new master now." That's how it starts. You don't get a choice, you don't get a goodbye, and you definitely don't get a support group. You're a Sith apprentice now, and life from this point forward is mostly pain. They don't exactly ease you into it. There's no tour of the facility. You're thrown in with nothing but instructions like survive, conquer, or kneel. They might give you a bunk, or a cage, or a pit, depends on their mood. Your training? Let's just say it's not very OSHA compliant. You wake up sore, you go to bed bleeding. If you mess up, you're punished. If you succeed, you're punished differently. Nothing is ever enough. They're always watching, and not in a proud, my student is learning kind of way. More like, can I break them faster than the last one? You don't get praise, you get silence, or cruelty, or a lesson delivered with the back of their hand. And if you start asking questions like, why are we doing this? Or is this safe? You've just earned yourself an extra round of Force lightning therapy. The Sith don't believe in balance, they believe in power. Raw, unapologetic, untamed power. And they think that the more pain you experience, the stronger you become. Which is great for them, not so great for you. Your daily life looks like this. You wake up in the middle of the night because your master set your bed on fire. Why? Because you should have sensed it coming. You skip breakfast. Breakfast is for people who haven't disappointed someone who can lift them across the room with one thought. Then you train. Saber drills, force exercises, hand-to-hand combat, meditation that feels more like mental torture than anything calming. And then come the lessons. We're not in school anymore. The Sith teach with blood and fear. You answer wrong, you lose a tooth. You answer right, he tries to stab you. Because knowing isn't enough. You have to prove it, every single day. You learn to use pain, not ignore it, not suppress it like the Jedi would. You feed it into the Force, you get angry, you channel it. You feel fear, you sharpen it into instinct. You want something, you take it. You're not here to become enlightened, you're here to become dangerous. Let's pause for a second and talk about the Sith philosophy, because it's easy to misunderstand. They're not cartoon villains sitting around in black capes, twirling their mustaches. Well, some are, but the core idea is this. The Sith believe that passion leads to power, and they worship power. It all goes back to a guy named Darth Bane, the one who created the Rule of Two. Before him, the Sith were basically a chaotic mess. Dozens of dark side users all trying to be top dog, backstabbing each other every Tuesday. They kept losing because they couldn't stop fighting themselves. Bane looked at that and said, right, two's enough. One master, one apprentice. The master holds the power. The apprentice learns and waits. And when the time is right, the apprentice kills the master and takes their place. It's like a twisted, galactic mentorship program, but instead of retirement parties, you get a lightsaber through the chest. That's the system you've been born into. Not raised to inherit, raised to murder and replace. And you feel that every day in the way your master looks at you, like a loaded blaster that might go off if they blink too long. You never fully relax, even when they're smiling, especially when they're smiling. Because every lesson has a trap baked into it. They'll teach you a new Force technique, then try to use it against you later, just to test if you paid attention. They'll compliment your progress, and then drop you in a cave full of hungry predators, with no way out just to see if you'll make your own. Failure is expected, but survival? That's what earns you the next lesson. They might send you on missions, assassinations, sabotage, artifact recovery, political manipulation. They're using you as a tool. You mess it up, you don't get a lecture, you get a scar. If you succeed too well, now you're a threat. That's the secret to Sith mentorship. They want you strong, but not too strong. Not until you've earned it, and by earned it, they mean beaten them in combat and taken everything they own. And you will try, eventually. You grab your lightsaber and strike, and maybe you win. You'd think that would feel like freedom. But no, now you're the master, and the whole cycle starts again. You have to find an apprentice. That's the rule. And sure, you've got your freedom now. You don't answer to anyone. You're powerful. You've got a fancy new title and probably a cooler outfit. But now someone else is looking at you, the same way you looked at your master, and it creeps in. They'll try to kill me. They'll betray me. I need to stay ahead. I need to control them. I need to teach them just enough. You build hidden chambers. You set traps in your own fortress. You test your food for poison. You keep one eye on your apprentice and the other on the nearest escape route. You start to feel older, heavier, like the dark side is slowly turning your body into something twisted. And it is. The Sith don't age gracefully. That raw power you used to love, it burns through you over time. Your eyes change colour. Your skin starts to decay. Your voice turns into a gravel pit. Because drawing power from hate, fear and rage is like lighting a fire and keeping it burning with your own soul. But you keep doing it. Because if you stop, you're vulnerable. And vulnerability in the world of the Sith is a death sentence. Want to know something funny? Most Sith apprentices don't make it. The whole kill your master and rise thing? It's rare. Most apprentices get wiped out halfway through training or manipulated into self-destruction. You don't graduate, you escape, or you die. And the ones who do survive, they often turn into the very monsters they swore to overthrow. You start out wanting freedom, revenge, justice, clarity, and end up snarling in a throne room, talking to yourself in riddles. It's like the galaxy's most toxic internship. And even the strongest Sith Lords, the ones who do leave a mark on history, they don't die peacefully. Palpatine, thrown down a shaft. Plagueis, killed in his sleep. Tyrannus, beheaded by his replacement. Vader, burned alive, rebuilt, used, redeemed, dead. The dark side gives you power, but it never gives you peace. It's lonely. You don't make friends, you make threats. You don't trust allies, you bribe them or blackmail them. You don't have a real name anymore. You're Darth something, and your old self, the one who liked music or laughed at bad jokes, that person's long gone. You meditate, but not to find peace, to control your thoughts, to sharpen your anger. You study holocrons from ancient Sith who all sound equally unhinged. You collect artifacts, hoard power, build secret plans. You don't relax, you prepare, because you know someone's coming for you. An apprentice, a rival, a Jedi, doesn't matter. Sooner or later your time ends with a blade. And the galaxy, it doesn't mourn you. It doesn't even remember you properly. Sith get edited out of the holonet, buried in sealed vaults, turned into stories to scare children. You were born with power, and raised by someone who taught you that love was weakness, peace was a lie, and mercy was for fools. And by the time you finally understand what you lost, it's too late to get it back. That's why it sucks to be born a Sith apprentice. Not because of the robes or the Force lightning or the rule of two, but because from the very start, your life wasn't yours. It belonged to someone else's plan, until you became someone else's problem. You open your eyes for the first time and they immediately start burning. That's how life begins on Tatooine. You're born into heat, noise and dust that gets inside your ears, nose, mouth, places you didn't even know could itch. You grow up squinting because the sun's never set. There are two of them, by the way, just in case one wasn't already frying your skin enough. Shade is a luxury. Moisture is currency. And joy, that's for people who live on planets with grass. Your parents don't celebrate your birthday. They're too tired. Your mum's dealing with evaporator breakdowns. Your dad's out haggling with Jawas over a busted droid leg. You're crying, but honestly, nobody has the water to spare for tears. That's what life on Tatooine is. A long, slow bake under two unforgiving stars. You grow up on the edge of a moisture farm. Don't let the name fool you. It's not peaceful or cozy. It's survival. Your family has these big condenser towers set up to pull water vapor straight out of the air. The air, mind you, is mostly sand and disappointment. Every drop of water is hard-won. When it rains, on the rare miracle it does, people run outside with buckets like it's a religious event. You drink recycled water. Wash with even less. If you spill your cup, that's not clumsy. That's grounds for a stern talking to, and maybe going to bed thirsty. Every day you help out. Clean the condensers, brush sand off the panels, check the power converters. Learn how to aim a blaster before you can spell your name, because Tusken Raiders aren't exactly known for peaceful visits. Everyone tells you not to wander too far. Now, about the neighbours, they fall into three categories. Other tired, sand-crusted farmers who nod at you like survivors in a war zone. Junk dealers who somehow know everything about your family's business, despite never leaving their shop. Huts. That's right, the Huts. Giant, slug-shaped crime lords who technically don't even own the planet but run it anyway. The Republic never really cared much about Tatooine. Too far, too poor, too lawless. So the Huts stepped in, brought order in their own way. Bribes, control, fear. People like Jabba have palaces carved into the cliffs while you're sleeping on a cot next to a buzzing coolant unit. The local authorities? There aren't any. Or if there are, they work for the Huts. If something gets stolen, tough. If someone goes missing, tough. If you want justice, you'd better bring credits, connections, or both. Otherwise, you're on your own. The main city is Mos Eisley, and let me tell you, that place is exactly what it looks like. You visit maybe once a month with your parents to trade. Scrap parts, animal meat, anything you can scavenge. You hold your parents' hand a little tighter, walking through the alleys. There's always some drunk guy passed out near a power junction, some alien shouting about ships, and at least one droid getting kicked. The cantina? You're not allowed in, not until you're older, but you can hear the music from the street. It's weirdly upbeat for a place where bar fights happen every hour. The signs aren't even in basic. Most of them are in Hutes, the unofficial language of Tatooine. You pick it up whether you want to or not, because if you want to live here, you need to speak the language of the streets. Now, let's talk school. Oh wait, there isn't one. You don't go to school, you go to work. Kids here learn through experience. That means fixing vaporators, helping with the speeder engine, running errands in town, and avoiding eye contact with off-worlders who look like they might buy you. Yeah, we should talk about that too. Slavery exists. It's mostly off the books since the Republic technically outlawed it, but the Hutts don't care. And the Empire? They don't even blink. So there are entire families living in compounds owned by traders who treat them like machines. You hear stories. People with bomb collars, punishment cells, whole generations born into servitude. It's not ancient history. It's a few blocks away. If your family's free, that doesn't mean you're safe. It just means you haven't been unlucky yet. You reach your teenage years, and you start getting restless. You look up at the sky a lot. You see ships, freighters, transports, smugglers, coming and going. Some days you swear you'll be on one. Get off this rock. Go somewhere with clouds, or lakes, or trees, or literally anything that isn't sand. But the problem is, getting off Tatooine takes money, and a ship that won't break down halfway to orbit. You've got none of those. So you go back to sweeping sand off the solar panels, fixing the same part of the speeder for the 4th time this week, and hoping that maybe the next trader from off-world is hiring. Now, some lore. Tatooine used to be a lush, vibrant planet. Yeah, hard to believe, right? Way back in ancient times, there were oceans here, forests, life, and then something happened. A cataclysm. Some say it was a natural disaster. Others say it was the result of warfare between ancient species. Either way, the oceans dried, the green faded, and all that was left was dust. The native species, the Tuscans, or Sand People, if you're being impolite, adapted. They wrapped themselves in cloth, learned to survive the heat, formed tight clans. The settlers who came later didn't understand them. Still don't, most of the time. There's constant tension, raids, skirmishes, retaliation. But the truth is, the Tuscans are just trying to survive. Same as you. And then there are the Jawas. Little robed scavengers who drive massive sand crawlers and show up at your door trying to sell you back the part they probably stole from you last night. They're not malicious, just opportunistic. Half the people on Tatooine owe their working droids to Jawa bargains. The other half are trying to get refunds. You grow up fast on Tatooine. There's no room for luxury, boredom or hobbies. You don't collect action figures or build tree houses. You collect scrap. You build fences. You try not to burn your hands on overheated parts. And you get really good at patching things together with next to nothing. You don't go to the beach because the beach is the desert. And the ocean is long gone. You don't go swimming. You barely go bathing. You don't go for a drive. Your speeder's missing a repulsor lift again, and the Jawas want double the usual for the part. And vacations? Yeah, that's a word from the core worlds. Some kids talk big, they say they're going to be pilots, or bounty hunters, or join the rebellion. Others are more realistic. They say they'll run a repair shop, or drive for the Moisture Guild, maybe marry into a merchant family and get access to better food rations. Dreams come in very small sizes here. You know what's wild? One of the most important people in galactic history was born here. Anakin Skywalker. Ever heard of him? Little kid, raised by a slave mother, ended up becoming a Jedi, then a war hero, then, well, things went sideways after that. But yeah, he was from here. This dusty, miserable planet where he built a protocol droid out of scrap metal. And he escaped, well, for a while. Most people who grow up here, they die here. They age faster, the sun gets to their skin, their bones, their mood, the dryness becomes part of them. They stop trying to leave. They call it life. You hit adulthood, and Tatooine becomes even smaller. The moisture farm doesn't grow, the equipment gets older. The Hutts still own everything that matters. You hear rumours of Jedi, of battles in space, of empires rising and falling, but none of that ever touches you. The galaxy forgets Tatooine exists until it needs something. It's a place people hide, or get dumped, or exiled to. A galactic parking lot with sandstorms. And the worst part? It could be something more. So yeah, being born here, it's not exciting. It's hot, hard, and it's forgettable. And that might be the worst part of all. Imagine your first sight being a ceiling made of flickering lights. You were born on Coruscant, the heart of the galaxy, as they love to call it. the Republic's shining jewel. Billions dream of seeing it once in their lifetime. But no one ever tells them that most people here never see a sunrise. Down where you're born, the air smells like a mix of fried coolant, engine smoke, and street food. You grow up thinking that's normal. Your lullaby at night, the sound of airspeeders flying above your level, and the occasional explosion when someone tries to hijack one. Life here depends on your level. Literally, every layer of the city is another step away from sunlight and from safety. The higher you go, the richer, cleaner, and brighter things get. Down below it's darker, dirtier, and far more honest if we're being polite. Let's start where most people end up, the lower levels. You wake up every morning to the sound of 1,000 different languages. No one here's from Coruscant originally. Everyone came here looking for opportunity, and then realised opportunity got lost somewhere around level 1300. There's no grass, no fresh air, and definitely no stars. The light down here comes from neon signs, bars, gambling dens, black market repair shops. It's all running 24/7, like the city forgot what time even means. You're raised surrounded by people who work too hard and get paid too little. The closest thing to nature is the moss growing on coolant pipes. You see kids playing with droid parts instead of toys, and parents selling illegal energy cells to buy dinner. And dinner, by the way, is usually some weird mix of protein paste and synthetic noodles. Nobody knows what's in it, nobody asks. Crime's part of the culture here. You can't even call it crime, because everyone's doing it to survive. Gangs like Black Sun, the Pike Syndicate, and a dozen smaller ones have carved the underworld into territories. They control everything from smuggling routes to protection rackets. The cops don't come here. The Coruscant security force gave up on these levels centuries ago. If you get mugged, the best you can hope for is that the thief's polite enough to leave your shoes. Sometimes you'll hear about the Jedi Temple towering high above the clouds, this mythical place where peacekeepers meditate and glow in the dark. But down here, the Jedi are more like urban legends. You don't meet them, you hear stories about them. People say they used to come here once during the High Republic era, when they cared about the whole galaxy. Now they barely look down from their marble towers. Still, everyone respects the temple, even the gangs. Because somewhere under the streets, deeper than anyone dares to go, there are ancient Sith ruins. The Jedi built their temple right on top of them, like some cosmic no-you gesture to the dark side. Old-timers still whisper that those ruins hum at night, that the Force itself feels twisted down here. And maybe that's why people go missing sometimes. No one knows if it's the gangs, the wildlife, or something worse. The lower you go, the stranger it gets. Mutants, half-droids, Force cults that worship old holocrons. There are whole levels down there that aren't even on the maps anymore. They say level 1313 was once meant to be luxury housing before the Republic abandoned it. Now it's a ghost town where bounty hunters and smugglers hide from the law. You grow up hearing those stories like bedtime fairy tales, except here the monsters are real and they have blasters. Then you reach your teenage years, and if you're lucky enough not to get shot or drafted into a gang, you start looking for work. The middle levels are where people like you go when they want a better life. The lights are brighter there. You actually see advertisements, corporate logos, and even a hint of sky if you squint through the smog. You find a job at some droid maintenance factory, fixing astromechs or sorting garbage. It's monotonous but stable. You clock in, clock out, and try not to think about how many other billions are doing the same thing. The boss? Probably a Bothan or some mid-level bureaucrat who thinks he's running the galaxy because he's got a desk and a badge. That's the funny thing about Coruscant, nobody's really free. You might not be chained physically, but you're part of a system that's designed to keep you moving, but never rising. Promotions are rare. People vanish if they dig too deep. The Republic bureaucracy is endless. Millions of departments, all arguing about who's responsible for what. It's like living inside an Excel spreadsheet. You take public transport, a massive Airbus jammed with every species imaginable. Some argue in basic, some in Hutace, some just click angrily. There's always a guy selling black market stimcaf in the back, and at least one droid complaining about its restraining bolt. Every night, you go home to a cramped apartment in a building that looks like a toaster. You've got maybe a few square meters of space, enough for a bed, a sink, and a wall screen playing government news. You fall asleep listening to the hum of traffic. It never stops. The planet never sleeps, and neither do the ads. You might think the middle levels are peaceful compared to the underworld, but you'd be wrong. The violence just wears nicer clothes. Here, people stab each other in the back with contracts instead of knives. Corporations compete in silent wars. Senate aides bribe reporters. The Galactic Senate itself, a massive theatre for politicians, pretending they're saving the galaxy while arguing about trade routes. And then, way above all this mess, are the upper levels. The ones who live so high up, the sky actually looks blue. If you're lucky enough to see it, it's surreal. The towers stretch so far up they pierce the clouds. The air smells cleaner, people dress in glowing fabrics, and the restaurants serve things you can't pronounce. Up here, they call themselves citizens of the core. Down below, people call them cloudheads. The elites live in penthouses, guarded by security droids. They drink Corellian wine older than you, eat cloned bantha steak, and spend their free time at art galleries where everything costs more than your entire block. The kids up here go to private academies, learning galactic politics, while your neighbour's kid learns how to pick locks. But don't think they're happy. The pressure's just different. Everyone's trying to one-up each other. Marriages are political, friendships are strategic, and smiles are rehearsed. You might not get mugged up here, but your soul gets audited. Even the Jedi, who live in their massive temple across the skyline, aren't really part of this society. They live beside it. If you're born Force-Sensitive on Coruscant, the temple might take you in. The planet's core might be metal, but its soul's been fighting itself for millennia. As you grow older, you start noticing the patterns. Coruscant doesn't really change. People change levels, but the levels stay the same. The poor dream of going up. The rich pretend the lower levels don't exist. The middle class just keeps the machine running. There's an old saying among the mechanics: if Coruscant stops for one day, the galaxy stops forever. That's how massive it is. One city, covering the entire planet, millions of years of construction, stacked like layers of history. Sometimes you'll hear about entire sectors collapsing. An old building gives way, thousands die, and the Senate calls it a localized infrastructure failure. Then life goes on, because on Coruscant, life always goes on. It's too big to stop. If you were to sum up what it's like to be born here, it's like living in a giant engine. Everything's moving, humming, glowing, but no one really knows who's driving. You grow up dreaming of leaving, maybe going to a real planet with trees and oceans. But when you finally get a chance to leave, you realize you don't even know how to handle silence. Coruscant spoils you that way. It gives you everything except peace. You open your eyes for the first time, and there's rain on glass. That's your birth, not exactly sunshine and lullabies. Just endless grey thunder and the sound of your brothers being born in rows beside you. You're not special, you're not unique, you're one of millions, and your DNA belongs to a guy named Jango Fett, a bounty hunter who probably has no idea you exist. So, congrats, you're technically his kid. Don't get too sentimental though, because he's not exactly the family type. The Kaminoans, the tall, emotionless, fish-faced scientists who made you, don't really do birthdays or hugs. They care about output, performance, and stability. You're not raised, you're grown. From the second you can stand upright, your life's on a schedule. Wake up, eat protein paste, march, learn to shoot, march again, eat more protein paste, now with flavour if you're lucky. Sleep for 6 hours, then repeat. There's no recess, no weekends, no, hey, let's go play ball. The only game is, don't get yelled at by a Kaminoan, and if you do well enough, your reward is more training. You share everything, bunk, gear, even DNA. You joke around a bit, sneak some banter between drills, maybe give each other nicknames, because CT-2719 doesn't exactly roll off the tongue. But even that feels weirdly fragile, because you know what happens when someone falls behind. They're reassigned. You don't know what warmth feels like. The sun? Never seen it. Kamino's an ocean planet with clouds so thick they block everything cheerful. The place is all white corridors, cloning vats and slippery floors. It's basically a giant military refrigerator. Everything's sterile. The food, the walls, the people, even the air smells like cleaning solution and disapproval. You try not to think about it, but there's this quiet loneliness that sticks to you, like the humidity in the air. Every once in a while, a Jedi comes by. They walk through the facility like inspectors. You stare at them through glass and think, those are our generals? They look calm, collected, way too polite for people who'll soon be yelling orders on a battlefield. You can't tell if they see you as soldiers or science experiments? Probably both. Your childhood ends before it begins. Kaminoans fast-track your growth. You age at twice the normal speed, which sounds great until you realize it means your 20s last about 6 years. By the time you look like an adult, you've only been alive for a decade, and by then, you've memorized more combat tactics than bedtime stories. The wars started, and guess who's the army? You, all of you. Millions of identical soldiers shipped out to fight a conflict you didn't even know existed until someone handed you a blaster. It's like finding out you were born specifically to die on schedule. The Republic calls you the finest soldiers in the galaxy. The Senate claps. The Jedi nod solemnly. The citizens wave flags and say thank you. And meanwhile, you're still waiting for someone to tell you what retirement means. You don't get pay, you don't get a vote, you don't get rights, you're equipment. Officially, you're property of the Grand Army of the Republic. It's printed right in your files. The Republic doesn't even pretend to see you as people. If you die, they don't send condolences to anyone. Because technically, you don't have family. They just grow another batch, and somehow, that's supposed to be comforting. You do make friends though, brothers. The kind that actually feel like family, even if you were all cooked up in the same tank. You train together, fight together, eat together, and occasionally argue over who's the better shot. You start marking your armor, painting stripes, symbols, little jokes. The Kaminoans hate it. They think it's unprofessional, but to you it's individuality. It's proof that you exist as more than a serial number. You give yourself a name, Rex, Fives, Echo, Cody, whatever feels right, and for a while that's enough. You might be a clone, but you start feeling human. Then you remember, humans get to choose their lives. You didn't. You finally leave Kamino, and it's weird, you feel small, the galaxy's huge. You see blue skies, dry deserts, snow, jungles, all for the first time. You start realizing that the war you were born to fight isn't some noble crusade, it's politics. Half the time, you're sent to liberate a planet, and the locals don't even know who the enemy is. You follow orders because that's what you're made to do, but deep down you start wondering, who's benefiting from all this? Every Jedi general gives their own spin. Some are kind, others treat you like furniture, but the good ones, they actually talk to you. They say thank you, they learn your name. Those are the ones you'd follow anywhere. And then sometimes you do, straight into battles you don't walk back from. You and the boys cope with jokes, the kind you shouldn't laugh at, but do anyway, because otherwise you'd break down. You prank the new batch by swapping helmets. You draw little cartoons on your locker. You give nicknames to the Kaminoan trainers. None of them flattering. It's the small things that keep you sane, because the rest of your life is chaos, laser fire, and orders yelled through static. Now here's where it gets uncomfortable. Remember that inhibitor chip? Yeah, that thing in your brain that the Kaminoans said was for your safety. Turns out it's not for your safety at all. That chip is a switch, a secret command waiting to flip. When it does, you'll turn on your Jedi. The same people you fought beside, ate beside, trusted with your life. You don't know this, of course. Nobody tells you. You'll only find out when it's too late, when Order 66 comes through and the galaxy goes quiet. And you won't even understand why. So even if you survive the war, which is statistically not great, you don't exactly have a long retirement ahead. The average clone's lifespan is about 40 years. Maybe less depending on how many explosions you've been near. Your body wears down twice as fast, and your mind carries 10 times the trauma. By the time the Empire rolls in, the Kaminoans stop making new batches. You're outdated, replaced by recruits, cheaper, slower, but politically easier. One day, the same Republic you fought for looks at you and says, "Thanks for your service, but we're downsizing." And then there's Kamino. When you think back on it, Kamino was both your home and your prison. It's strange. You kind of miss it. The rhythm, the familiarity, the way the rain sounded on the Durasteel roofs. You hated it then, but now, it's the only place you ever really belonged. You wonder what happened to the Vats, to the scientists, to the little unactivated brothers still floating in their tanks. And you'll never know, because one day, the Empire wipes Kamino off the map. Your entire origin story, gone. The galaxy barely remembers you. When people talk about the Clone Wars, they talk about the Jedi. You're background noise. You were born to fight, and when the fighting stopped, so did your purpose. Some clones became mercenaries. Others disappeared into remote worlds, trying to live normal lives. A few stayed loyal to the Empire, still wearing their armor, still following orders, because they didn't know what else to do. And deep down, you can't even blame them. When your whole existence is built around obedience, freedom feels terrifying. You'll always remember your squad, the banter, the camaraderie, the missions that somehow went right, the laughs in the gunship before the doors opened, the silent nods after a close call. You'll remember the ones who didn't make it, because in your world, everyone eventually doesn't make it. There's a strange comfort in that though, because as bleak as your story is, at least you weren't alone in it. You didn't have parents, you didn't have a future, but you had brothers, and that meant something. So yeah, being born a clone sounds kind of cool at first. You're strong, brave, genetically perfect, and trained by the best mercenaries in the galaxy. But the fine print ruins it. You're bred for war you didn't start, programmed for loyalty you didn't choose, and aging toward an expiration date you can't escape. You don't even get a name until you steal one for yourself. The Jedi call you soldiers, the Kaminoans call you property, the Republic calls you heroes, right before sending you to die, and after it's all over, you fade into history like you were never there. You're born into a system that already has plans for you. Somewhere, an Imperial recruiter looked at your planet and saw labor, soldiers, and future numbers on a roster. And when you hit the right age, you're handed a form, a uniform, and a promise that sounds a lot like a threat. Serve the Empire, be part of something bigger. At first, it doesn't sound too bad. The galaxy's full of chaos, and the Empire sells itself as the cure. You see those propaganda reels, Palpatine's calm, deep voice, talking about unity, safety, prosperity. The music swells, Star Destroyers glide across the screen, Stormtroopers march in perfect lines. You don't notice that every face looks the same, because that's the point. Then comes the Imperial Academy. Calling it a school is generous, it's more like an obedience factory. The first thing you learn isn't how to shoot, it's how to shut up. Questions are weakness. Curiosity gets you latrine duty. Every day is the same. Wake before dawn, polish everything in sight, run drills until your legs ache, and recite loyalty oaths until your throat burns. You sleep to the sound of blaster training in the next hall, and the hum of propaganda speakers repeating the Emperor's quotes. The instructors are old Clone Wars veterans who never adjusted to peace. They hate you for not being a clone. Say you're soft, undisciplined, too human. You get punished if you miss a target, punished if you talk back, punished if you blink during inspection. By the end of your first month, you're so used to being yelled at, you start missing it when they're quiet. Graduation day feels like a victory. You stand in a hangar with hundreds of other cadets, identical armor lined up in neat rows. They hand you your white plastoid suit, tell you it's state-of-the-art protection. You put it on and instantly realize it's a lie. Your blaster rifle, the E11, is another masterpiece of corner-cutting cheap, mass-produced, unreliable in humidity. You'll spend more time cleaning it than shooting it. But again, that's the Empire for you. Big promises, low budgets. Your first posting takes you far from home. Probably some outer rim dust bowl, where the locals glare at you like you personally ruined their lives. You set up checkpoints, patrol marketplaces, and arrest anyone who looks suspicious, which, according to the Empire, is everyone. You start to realize how massive the machine you're part of really is. You're not protecting anyone, you're maintaining control. Every planet has garrisons like yours. Every street corner has a camera. Every citizen learns to lower their voice when they see white armor. You're not peacekeepers, you're reminders. Still, you try to find small wins. You trade stories with your squad mates during night shifts. You nickname your unit's droid. You carve initials into your armor's inside plating. It's the only place no officer checks. Speaking of officers, they're a breed of their own. Some are brilliant tacticians. Others couldn't find their own blaster with both hands. But they all share one trait: fear. Fear of failure, fear of Vader, fear of ending up in a report labelled insubordination. Every few months, rumours sweep through the ranks. Rebels attacking supply lines, clones going rogue, entire battalions wiped out. You laugh it off because that's what soldiers do. Then one day, those rumours show up at your door. You're shipped to a hot zone where explosions fill the sky, and you realise those farm boy insurgents are winning. When you're not fighting, you're standing around hours of guard duty on Star Destroyers that smell like recycled air and burned metal. You stare at endless grey corridors and try to remember what colour the sky used to be. Sometimes you catch a glimpse of Darth Vader walking by. No one dares move or speak. The air gets colder when he passes, like the ship itself is holding its breath. If you're stationed on the Death Star, the irony never hits you until later. You spend months guarding superweapons and listening to officers boast about invincibility. And then one unlucky day, you're atomized before you even finish your ration pack. When the Empire finally collapses, it happens so fast you almost miss it. Your officers flee, supply drops stop. You and a few others sit around a dying campfire, helmets off for the first time in years, realizing you've got nothing. Some ex-troopers try to join the New Republic, hoping to make amends. Most aren't accepted. Others turn mercenary or fall in with Imperial remnants. You still wear the armor because it's all you've got left. You clean it every night, even though no one's watching. Old habits are hard to kill. But history's cruel, and the galaxy has a short memory. After a few decades, someone decides to resurrect the old ideas. The First Order rises from the ashes, promising discipline, unity, and a shiny new aesthetic. It's the Empire 2.0. Same soul, better branding. Being born under the First Order makes you even less lucky. They don't recruit, they take. You're snatched from your parents as a toddler and raised in sterile dorms. You never hear your real name, only a code, FN something. They feed you propaganda before you can read, make you watch endless hollows of glorious battles, and teach you that mercy is weakness. The training's harsher than the Empire's ever was. Sleep deprivation, sensory control, psychological conditioning. You're told the First Order will restore the galaxy's greatness, but you're never told what that means. You don't have to understand, you just have to obey. Armor's upgraded, sure, better filters, more flexible joints, but it still doesn't stop a blaster bolt. And the helmets, the speakers inside make everyone sound like they're talking through a tin can. The point isn't functionality, it's identity erasure. Every voice becomes the same. Your officers act like philosophers who've read too much propaganda. General Hux screams about purity and destiny, while Kylo Ren slices up control panels when he's in a mood. You learn to stand perfectly still and hope he doesn't pick you to demonstrate leadership. Missions under the First Order are brutal. You burn villages that won't cooperate, arrest citizens for thought crimes, and tell yourself it's for security. You've never met a real rebel. They're myths to you, faces on wanted posters. Then one day, someone in your squad hesitates. He lowers his blaster, and just like that, everything you've been taught cracks. The story of FN 2187, the one who ran, spreads like wildfire. Officially, he's branded a traitor. Unofficially, half the barracks whisper that maybe he wasn't wrong. It's the first time you realize you're not alone in doubting things. Still, the system keeps turning. The First Order collapses like the Empire before it, and once again, Stormtroopers are left in the dirt. Some desert, some are captured, others wander. You can almost see the pattern repeating through history. Lore-wise, Stormtroopers existed in every flavour. Scout Troopers, Snow Troopers, Death Troopers, Shore Troopers, all serving the same machine in different climates, specialised gear, different helmets, but the same hopeless rulebook. Even the elite units weren't safe from being replaced. When the Empire wanted efficiency, it didn't upgrade its soldiers, it cloned new ones, conscripted fresh ones, or built droids. Flesh was always the disposable component. You can't even say Stormtroopers had camaraderie like the clones. The clones were brothers, literally. Stormtroopers are co-workers who can't see each other's faces. You bond over ration packs and gossip about which admiral secretly hates Vader. But deep down, you know if an order came down to execute you for disobedience, your buddy would do it without blinking. That's what the Empire trained him for. The saddest part is that Stormtroopers believed they were heroes. They weren't evil, just conditioned. The same way clones followed Order 66 without hesitation, Stormtroopers followed the Empire's propaganda because it was all they'd ever known. When you live behind a mask long enough, you start thinking it's your real face. Some historians like to say Stormtroopers represented the Empire's strength. In reality, they represented its fear. Every blaster bolt fired in white armor was the sound of a government terrified of losing control. There's no monument for the anonymous men and women under the helmets. The galaxy moves on, and the armor ends up in junkyards, half buried in sand or displayed in museums as a cautionary tale. You, meanwhile, sit somewhere quiet, maybe on a mining moon or a freighter job, trying to remember what your own voice sounds like. That's what being born a Stormtrooper really means. You live your entire life as part of someone else's story. You fight wars you didn't start, wear armor that hides you from the world, and die in service of leaders who'll forget your number before your body hits the floor. And if you're lucky enough to survive, you spend the rest of your life trying to figure out who you were before the Empire told you who to be. So here's to you, Trooper, the galaxy's most famous nobody. May your blaster finally stay silent and your helmet finally come off. You used to be one of the good ones, a little kid who could move a cup without touching it, dreaming about being a Jedi. Next thing you know, the Clone Wars end, the Jedi vanish, and a black armored man with a breathing problem turns up, offering you a new job. That's the start of the Inquisitorius program, the Empire's polite way of saying, we took the leftovers and turned them into hounds. They find you hiding in some back alley or refugee ship, still clinging to Jedi ideals. Then they break you down. Not metaphorically, they actually torture you until you start believing mercy's a weakness. That's how your second life starts, in chains technically. You're taken to a fortress on a water world called Nur, this dark spire rising out of endless black ocean. It doesn't even look like it belongs in nature. The Empire calls it the Fortress Inquisitorius, home of the Inquisitorius program, the organization that hunts Jedi survivors. It's corrupted here, alive and angry. Your first week is pain. They hook you into interrogation chambers, flash you with hollows of Jedi traitors, and tell you that the Order betrayed the galaxy. You resist until they make resistance pointless. When they finally unchain you, your lightsaber is gone, replaced by a new one with a red blade that spins like a buzzsaw. Training begins at dawn, though you can't really tell what time it is. Nur's sky is always grey. You spar in wide halls lit by cold white lights. Every strike's monitored, every move evaluated. Your instructors are fellow traitors, people who already fell before you did. They don't smile, don't encourage. They correct you by hurting you. If you hesitate, they knock you down. If you fall, they keep hitting until you stop shaking. And watching from the upper decks is him, Darth Vader. You never hear him enter. You just feel the air pressure drop. Every trooper, every officer, every Inquisitor freezes. You try not to look, but the corner of your visor catches him standing there. One wrong breath and he'd slice you in half just to make a point. That's the daily reality. You train to channel anger, because fear makes you powerful. You meditate not on peace, but on pain. The more it hurts, the deeper the connection. At some point, you stop remembering what calm ever felt like. You get ranked and numbered. They don't use names anymore. You're the third sister, the fifth brother, the 10th, whatever. The system works like a bad joke. The lower the number, the higher your rank. Everyone's obsessed with moving up, and the only way to do that is by surviving longer than the others. Off duty, there's no relaxation. You eat tasteless nutrient bars that could double as ship parts. The rec rooms have hollow screens, looping Imperial speeches. Even sleep feels like a mission. Your quarters are small, barely a bed and a console, and the walls vibrate from distant screams in the interrogation sector. You and the others pretend it's fine. You start to laugh at the absurdity. Someone cracks a joke about the Grand Inquisitor's polished head. Someone else bets who'll lose a limb next week. Dark humor becomes oxygen. Without it, you'd start screaming too. When missions come in, you move fast. You travel to distant planets following rumors of Jedi. A farmer using the Force to heal crops. A refugee levitating debris. A monk who prays too quietly. Half the time, it's false leads. The other half, you find them. They're never what you expect. Some are old and broken, living in caves. Others are young, still idealistic enough to think peace can return. And the worst are the ones who refuse to fight back. They kneel, they look at you with pity, and something in your chest twists. Because you recognize them. Not personally, but spiritually. They're what you were supposed to become. You kill them anyway, because mercy's failure, and failure means Vader. That's the rhythm of life now. Mission, guilt, silence. The Empire calls you the Hand of Justice. You call yourself tired. The Fortress Inquisitorius runs on fear. The lower levels hold prisoners. Jedi, rebels, Force-sensitive children. Some are used for interrogation, others for experimentation. The rumors say the Emperor's scientists extract their midichlorians for research. You never see the details, but the screams are enough. Sometimes new recruits arrive. You watch them the way predators watch each other, curious, cautious. You can tell who'll last and who won't within minutes. The ones who still call people master never make it to next month. Every now and then, one of you tries to escape. It never ends quietly. The Grand Inquisitor hunts them down himself, dragging their bodies back as warnings. Vader doesn't even waste words, he just orders the next batch of trainees to clean up the mess. Yet despite all that, there's weird camaraderie among you. Everyone's broken differently, but broken all the same. There were at least a dozen major Inquisitors active at once, plus countless unnamed hunters scattered through the Outer Rim. The Grand Inquisitor, once a Jedi Temple guard, was the first, trained directly by Vader. Others followed, the fifth brother, slow but strong, the seventh sister, sharp as a vibroblade, the second sister, haunted by guilt from the Purge. Each had their own methods, and their own ways of falling apart. The Jedi used to say, the dark side consumes. They were right. You feel it physically. Your skin pales, your eyes start to glow, your voice deepens. Every emotion burns hotter, but emptier. You think you're gaining control, but really, the anger's controlling you. The Empire keeps you on a leash until it doesn't need you. When the Rebel Alliance grows stronger, the Inquisitorius gets busier. Then suddenly quieter, Jedi become rarer. Rebellions spread faster. You can feel the system shaking. Then the Emperor dies. What's certain is the orders stop coming. The fortress goes silent. The hangar bays are empty. You wake up one morning and realize you're free, or abandoned, depending how you look at it. Some Inquisitors vanish into hiding. A few try to reinvent themselves. One becomes a mercenary, another ends up teaching Force tricks to criminals in exchange for food. Some go back to farming planets, living under fake names, but none of them sleep well. You can't exactly walk into a bar and tell people what you did for a living. I hunted Jedi for 20 years, doesn't start conversations. You keep your hood up, pay in advance, and avoid eye contact. You still feel Vader's presence in your dreams, even long after he's gone. A few ex-Inquisitors joined strange Force cults, groups that worship the dark side like a religion. You visit one once, listen to their chants, and realize you don't belong anywhere anymore. Being an Inquisitor means never having a home. You exist between extremes. Too Jedi to be Sith, too Sith to be forgiven. You can't even die with dignity. The Empire doesn't build memorials for people who remind it of its own sins. And yet somewhere deep down, a part of you still remembers the light. The way it felt when you first levitated a stone as a child, the calm of the temple gardens, the laughter of other Padawans during training breaks. Those memories don't fade, they just hurt to remember. If you're lucky, you get old. You live long enough to see the New Republic rise, to hear people whisper about Luke Skywalker rebuilding the Jedi. Maybe you even think about finding him. But you know what would happen. He'd sense the darkness in you before you said a word. So you keep moving. You fix broken machines, help locals with small problems, try to do quiet good without drawing attention. Once in a while, you take out that old red lightsaber. You think about destroying it but can't bring yourself to. It's the only proof you existed. People talk about the Inquisitors like they were monsters, but most were victims, tools of an empire that weaponized their trauma children who lost everything and were promised purpose in exchange for their souls. The irony is you started as a Jedi student, learning to protect life, and ended as the reason others feared the Force. The circle closes, just uglier this time. Officer of the Galactic Empire, you picture yourself in that sharp grey uniform, hands behind your back, standing on the bridge of a Star Destroyer, giving orders while TIE fighters zip by. It's the kind of title that would make your parents proud, at least until they realise your boss is a guy who chokes people to death because the coffee was too cold. Your life starts pretty early, with structure. You're born somewhere in the core worlds, maybe Coruscant, maybe Anaxes, maybe even Brental. Basically, one of those planets where everyone thinks the sun shines out of the Empire's backside. The holovids play every morning, brave officers saluting, fleets flying in formation, and the narrator talking about loyalty, order, and unity. You think it's inspiring as a kid? Later you realise it's brainwashing with better lighting. When you're old enough to hold a datapad, without drooling on it, you're enrolled in one of the Imperial academies. You don't really choose that path, it's chosen for you. Maybe your family has connections, or maybe the Empire just needs more polished faces to send to the front lines. Either way, your childhood's over. The moment you step into that academy courtyard. The Imperial academies are basically a mix of military school and prison, minus the good behaviour rewards. You wake up before sunrise, clean floors until they shine, and march until your legs forget what sitting means. The instructors yell until their throats give out, and your only break is a slightly warmer bowl of nutrient paste at lunch. The first thing they teach you isn't tactics or leadership, it's obedience. You learn how to salute, how to address superiors, and how to stop asking why. The Empire doesn't care about curiosity. Curiosity is dangerous. Curiosity gets you spaced. The Imperial hierarchy is insane. The Galactic Empire had ranks for everything. There were Moffs, Grand Moffs, Admirals, Generals, Captains, Commanders, and each one had subranks stacked like a deck of cards. You could technically be someone's superior while still being someone else's subordinate 3 floors up. It's bureaucracy that could make a Sith meditate out of frustration. Let's say you start small, lieutenant in the Imperial Navy. You get stationed on a Star Destroyer. You think, alright, this is it, I've made it. Until you realise there are about 12 other lieutenants in the same room, all fighting for a single data port on the console. Promotions don't come from hard work. They come from luck, political favours, or being the only survivor when something explodes. And things explode a lot. Star Destroyers might look majestic from a distance, but living on one? That's another story. You're sleeping in a bunk the size of a coffin, eating rehydrated food that tastes like burnt cardboard, and praying you don't bump into Darth Vader in the hallway. Not that you'd see much of him. Officers usually see Vader once in their career, and it's rarely a happy occasion. If you make a mistake, losing a rebel ship or calling in late for a fleet report, you don't get a stern talking to. You get a forced performance review. It starts with a sudden pressure on your throat and ends with everyone pretending you retired early. The next day, someone else is promoted to your spot. The Empire ran on fear, literally. That was the entire management philosophy. Tarkin, the man who came up with the Tarkin Doctrine, believed that fear of force was the best way to keep the galaxy in line. And it didn't just apply to planets, it applied to officers like you. You're terrified of your superiors, your crew's terrified of you, and everyone's terrified of Vader. It's a perfect little pyramid of anxiety. Still, if you're good at your job, there's room to climb. The academies crank out thousands of officers every year, but only a few ever make it to the bridge of a major ship or command post. Those who do tend to have the charm of a wet droid and the moral flexibility of a Hutt accountant. You'll see people backstab, lie, and sabotage each other for a single promotion. There's no teamwork, only survival. You'll probably spend a few years bouncing between assignments. Maybe you start as a junior operations officer on a Victory-class Star Destroyer, one of the old models, loud and cramped. Then if you're lucky and alive, you might get transferred to a newer Imperial-class ship, which is basically a flying city of uniform misery. From there, you might serve on a space station, like the Death Star, where the coffee's better, but the chance of catastrophic explosion is about 100%. The funny part, you'll still believe in the system. You'll tell yourself, the Empire keeps order, without it there'd be chaos. You'll repeat those lines so often that one day you actually start to believe them, because that's how the Empire wins. It doesn't need to convince everyone. It just needs to exhaust them into agreement. Let's talk about pay. You'd think a government that builds planet-destroying battle stations would at least pay decently, right? Nope. Officers get modest stipends, housing, if you call a bunk housing, and the glorious honour of serving the Emperor. You can't even spend your credits anywhere fun, because half the galaxy is under martial law. The most exciting thing you can buy is a new pair of gloves that don't smell like coolant. Social life? Forget it. Dating as an Imperial officer is like trying to have a relationship while working for a volcano. You're constantly moving, constantly on edge, and constantly reminded that attachments are distractions. The only real relationships you have are with your datapad and your stress. Some officers try dating lower ranks, but that usually ends with either a court-martial or a mysterious transfer. And if you ever thought about leaving, good luck. The Empire doesn't do resignations. Once you're in for life, unless you fake your death or join the rebellion. If you even say the word rebel too loudly, ISB, Imperial Security Bureau, starts monitoring your lunch conversations. They've got agents everywhere. The ISB is like the Empire's paranoid uncle, always watching, always recording, always convinced someone's out to get them. You could be demoted for sneezing near the wrong person. The safest sentence in the Imperial Navy is yes, sir. It's universal. It works in every situation, including your own execution. But hey, there are perks. You get to see the galaxy, mostly from orbit, because they don't trust officers to mingle with civilians. You get that fancy uniform, which somehow manages to be both uncomfortable and stylish. And if you survive long enough, You might even get command of your own vessel. That's when you start to realize the cruel truth. Being the one giving orders doesn't mean you're free. It just means there's a shorter list of people who can kill you. You'll spend your nights reviewing endless reports, casualty counts, and efficiency charts. You'll pretend everything's under control while knowing deep down that one wrong move could make your ship the next tragic accident. And if you ever show compassion, say hesitate before bombing a civilian convoy, you'll get flagged as emotionally compromised. The Empire doesn't like officers with empathy. They want obedience, not conscience. It was a machine designed for control. You, as an officer, are just one cog in that machine. You start out wanting to bring peace and stability, and end up part of a machine that crushes both. You don't even notice when the line blurs, when order becomes control, when duty becomes obedience. But hey, at least the uniform's still clean. So, you were born a bounty hunter. You learned early that in this galaxy, everyone's either the hunter or the hunted, and you picked the side with better aim. You grow up around people who think danger is a career path. Your first steps probably happened inside some greasy hangar on Nar Shaddaa or Ord Mantell, surrounded by mercs arguing over payment and armor polish. By the time most kids were learning their alphabets, you were learning how to field strip a blaster and negotiate a job without getting scammed. Childhood? Gone. You don't get school plays or bedtime stories, you get training simulations. Someone hands you a stun pistol the moment you can lift it, pats you on the helmet, and says, "Don't miss." And if you do miss, you get to scrub carbon scoring off your mentor's armor for the next week. The thing is, bounty hunting isn't really about glory. It's about bills. You work job to job, living out of ships that smell like burnt calf and oil. The only thing that separates you from the criminals you hunt is paperwork. And half the time, even that's questionable. Let's talk about the Bounty Hunters Guild for a second. In theory, it's a legitimate organization that keeps hunters from killing each other over contracts. In practice, it's a bureaucratic nightmare run by people who care more about percentages than lives. You pay your dues, follow the codes, and get access to official bounties. Sounds fair? Until you realize how rigged the system is. Every job goes through the guild board. You submit a request, get assigned a target, and they take a fat cut of your reward. You're supposed to follow the guild code. No unauthorized kills, respect claimed targets, and don't interfere with another hunter's contract. Break those rules and you're out, or worse, blacklisted. Which, in bounty hunter terms, is basically a death sentence. Because when you're blacklisted, the next bounty might be you. Now, some hunters skip the guild and go independent. Sounds tempting, but it's risky. Without guild protection, every system sees you as a walking legal liability. If you bring in a target without a verified contract, planetary security might arrest you for vigilantism. Which is ironic considering half the time they hire guild hunters under the table anyway. The legality of bounties is a mess. Some planets recognize them, others call it kidnapping. The Empire loved using bounty hunters because they were deniable. If a mission went wrong, they could shrug and say, "Freelancers, not us." You're useful because you're disposable. The Empire, the Hutts, the corporate sector, everyone loves a worker. They don't have to claim on the payroll, and you get paid in credits that often don't clear until weeks later. You might drag a guy across 3 systems, fight through 2 ambushes, and nearly lose a limb. Then the guild clerk tells you, "Payment pending Imperial verification." So you sit in a cantina, broken bleeding, watching your quarry's bounty poster, still flashing on the hollow board like some cruel joke. Every hunter has their own style. Some prefer the quiet jobs, tracking debtors, runaway smugglers, or bounty jumpers who skipped court dates. Others go for the big money, assassinations, rebel captures, or Imperial fugitives. The problem is, the bigger the target, the smaller your odds of staying in one piece. You learn quickly that armor isn't fashion, it's survival. Mandalorian armor is top tier, but unless you're born into a clan or have a fortune, good luck getting any. Most hunters wear a mix of scavenged plates, blast-scorched chest pieces, and helmets that never quite fit right. And if your jetpack fails mid-chase, well, gravity handles the rest. Speaking of Mandalorians, yeah, they basically wrote the book on bounty hunting. The guild was full of them back in the day. They even had rules about contracts, honor, and payouts that made them sound like medieval knights with flamethrowers. But honor doesn't fill your fuel tank, and the modern galaxy doesn't care about old codes. Now it's about whoever gets to the target first. There's also a kind of unspoken hierarchy among hunters. You've got the big names: Boba Fett, Bossk, Dengar, legends who can take down an entire rebel cell before lunch. Then you've got the rest of us, the small-time hunters chasing gamblers, smugglers, and petty thieves for 500 credits a pop. You probably start there, and if you live long enough to get a reputation, you'll spend the rest of your life dodging people trying to earn theirs by killing you. Life on the road, or in your case in space, is brutal. You live out of your ship, which doubles as your home, workplace, and sometimes jail cell. Every dent on the hull has a story: a blaster hit, a bad landing, or a bounty who kicked harder than expected. You eat whatever fits in ration packs, shower once a week, if your ship's water recycler hasn't broken again, and spend more time talking to your nav computer than actual humans. But there are moments that make it worth it. The thrill of a clean capture, the silence right after a successful drop-off, that first sip of real caf paid with your own credits. You start to realize why so many hunters never retire. It's not the money, it's the adrenaline. When you're chasing someone through the underlevels of Coruscant or across the dunes of Tatooine, you feel alive. It's chaotic, messy, and dangerous, but it's yours. Let's get into some lore again. The Guild has regional branches spread across the Outer Rim, the Mid-Rim, and the Core Worlds. Each region has its own administrator, usually an ex-hunter who got too old or too scarred to keep up the fieldwork. The biggest branch? Probably Nar Shaddaa, where the Hutts funnel half the galaxy's illegal contracts through fake companies. There's also the old Concord Dawn network, which the Empire eventually shut down for security reasons. They didn't want freelancers catching Imperial officers on the side. One thing people misunderstand: bounty hunters aren't mercenaries. Mercs fight wars for whoever pays more. Hunters deal in people, capturing them alive, preferably, and delivering them. Killing a target usually cuts the payout in half, so you learn to shoot for the legs. Unless the contract says dead or alive, then well, guess which option's easier to carry. Your workday is basically detective work with explosives. You track rumours, check holonet posts, bribe informants, and dig through trash to find clues. Sometimes you chase your mark for days, sometimes weeks. You get to know them weirdly well, their routines, their habits, even their favourite drink, because that's what it takes to catch them. And when you finally do, it's usually at 3 AM in some back alley cantina, where the band doesn't even pause their music when the shooting starts. You develop habits, superstitions even. Maybe you never take a job that starts on a Tuesday. Maybe you wear the same glove every mission, because luck's all you've got when the galaxy decides to throw a wampa-sized curveball your way. And there's zero retirement plan. Hunters either die, get too slow, or vanish. You don't get medals, pensions, or thank you hollows. You get scars, unpaid bar tabs, and a reputation that outlives you. If you're lucky, the Guild's records are full of missing, presumed dead entries. But in your line of work, that's basically the same as probably still out there, hiding under a fake name. Now you might think working for the Empire pays better. They do post bounties, mostly for deserters, rebels, and smugglers. But Imperial jobs come with fine print. They'll lose your reward paperwork, or suddenly decide your target's capture was unnecessary expenditure. Meanwhile, the Hutts pay fast, but have their own risks, mainly that if you cross them, you end up as the next bounty. There's also the underworld politics. You can't throw a rock in the Outer Rim without hitting a syndicate. Black Sun, Crimson Dawn, the Pikes. Everyone wants a piece of the bounty game. Sometimes they post contracts, sometimes they are the contracts. One week you're hunting for them, the next you're hunted by them. It's a revolving door of violence that never stops spinning. If you ever need to relax, there's the Guild Cantina, a dim place where the air smells like ozone and burnt calf. You walk in, and it's a museum of prosthetic limbs and bad decisions. Hunters brag about kills, argue over payouts, and place bets on who's going to die next. You pretend not to care, but deep down, you know they'll be talking about you someday. Hopefully, because you retired rich. Let's sprinkle some names for fun. The Guild once operated under Greef Karga during the New Republic transition era. He was one of the few who tried making bounty hunting semi-legal again. Before him, Kradosk, Bosk's father, ran the old guild during the Clone Wars, when it was split between loyalists and separatist contractors. Even earlier, hunters like Sugi and Embo worked as mercenaries who blurred the line between hero and outlaw. The profession's been around since before the Republic itself, as long as someone was willing to pay for someone else's capture. So yeah, you were born a bounty hunter. You learned early that every shot counts, every deal has a catch, and every friend might someday cash in on your bounty, and that kind of sucks. You're born a Mandalorian. Congrats, that means your first baby rattle probably came with a safety warning and a flamethrower attachment. On most planets, kids get plush toys and picture books. On Mandalore, you get a helmet before you even learn to walk. Mandalorian childhood is weird. While other kids learn to colour inside the lines, you're learning to shoot between them. Training starts early: hand-to-hand combat, flight drills, weapon maintenance, survival tactics. There's no participation trophy. If you lose, you clean everyone's blasters. If you win, you clean yours anyway. Discipline is the only real tradition that never goes out of style. But it's not all military drills. There's culture too. Songs about ancient wars, legends about fallen heroes, and bedtime stories where the monsters usually turn out to be Jedi. The Jedi-Mandalorian feud goes back centuries. You grow up hearing how your ancestors faced warriors with lightsabers and lived to tell about it, or at least left impressive scorch marks behind. See, the Mandalorians weren't born as soldiers, they became them. Ages ago, they were just clans of settlers trying to survive on a harsh planet. Then someone figured out that being really good at fighting could solve a lot of problems, and also create twice as many. That's when Mandalore became a forge for warriors. Each generation tried to out-tough the last, and soon they were conquering half the galaxy just to prove they could. Your parents tell you stories about the Great Wars, the Crusades against the Republic, the Siege of Coruscant, the fall of the old Mandalorian Empire. And somewhere in there, there's always the darksaber, that ancient black-bladed lightsaber forged by Tara Vizsla, the first Mandalorian Jedi. The darksaber is both a weapon and a headache. Whoever holds it is supposed to lead Mandalore. The problem is, everyone wants it, and nobody wants the responsibility that comes with it. It's like the world's most dangerous family heirloom. By the time you're old enough to fly, the galaxy sees Mandalorians as mercenaries. And honestly, they're not wrong. The clans fractured long ago. Some followed the old warrior traditions, others tried to become civilized. The result? Civil war after civil war. The saying Mandalorians never run out of wars, they just run out of ammo isn't far off. You pick your path through all that chaos. Some Mandalorians live under the creed, this is the way, and all that. Others take off the helmet and blend in with the galaxy. You grow up thinking the helmetless ones are traitors, until you meet a few and realize they're just tired of sweating 24/7. Your clan defines your life. Each one's like a family business, except instead of selling fruit, you sell military contracts. Clan Vizsla, Clan Kryze, Clan Ren. Every name carries legacy, pride, and a list of grudges long enough to fill a holobook. You inherit enemies the same way you inherit armor. Someone wronged your ancestors centuries ago? Congratulations, you're still mad about it. You learn the art of Beskar, that rare Mandalorian iron that can take a lightsaber hit and still look brand new. It's holy metal, part armor, part religion. Getting a piece of Beskar isn't easy. Sometimes you earn it, sometimes you inherit it, sometimes you have to pry it from a fallen warrior's corpse. You treat it with respect because it's not just steel, it's identity. Now, the funny part about Mandalorians is how contradictory they are. They value loyalty, but they also value independence. They talk about unity, but they can't agree on lunch, let alone leadership. The result is a people constantly rebuilding, constantly arguing, and constantly ready to shoot first if diplomacy takes too long. And still, you wouldn't want to be anything else. There's something thrilling about growing up in a society where courage is currency. You don't measure worth by wealth or title, you measure it by scars. Every scar is proof that you faced something deadly and didn't blink. Daily life depends on which era you're born into. If it's during the Old Republic, you're probably part of a crusade, conquering worlds in the name of Mandalore the Ultimate. If it's during the Clone Wars, you're either with Duchess Satine's pacifists or with Death Watch, her trigger-happy opposition. Either way, you're knee-deep in politics and explosions. If you're born post-Empire, you get a galaxy that's forgotten what Mandalore even means. The Empire bombed your homeworld into glass. The night of 1,000 tears, TIE bombers blotting out the sky, entire cities turned to ash. The survivors scattered across the stars, living as mercs, smiths or bounty hunters, you inherit a culture in pieces, trying to weld it back together, one creed at a time. Still, the culture endures because of stubbornness. Mandalorians might lose planets, leaders and wars, but they never lose the habit of getting back up. You can strip them of armor, take their ships, even melt down their Beskar, but you can't make them stop being Mandalorian. It's baked into their DNA. You don't join the military, you are the military. From the moment you can fly a jetpack, you're part of the clan's fighting force. Missions range from defending settlements to taking contracts off-world, the Empire, the Republic, the Hutts. Everyone hires Mandalorians at some point. They're the galaxy's problem solvers, with better armor. But don't mistake that for stability. Mandalorian life is a constant balance between survival and pride. You might be working for the same empire that once bombed your home. That's normal here. You rationalize it. A contract's a contract. Morality gets fuzzy when survival's on the line. Between jobs, you return to clan gatherings. There's food, usually roasted something, and long nights of drinking, singing, and arguing. The toasts sound like war speeches. It's chaotic, loud, and somehow comforting. Relationships are complicated. Marriage exists, sure, but till death do us part hits different when everyone carries a blaster. You might meet your partner in a duel, fall in love mid-combat, and end up arguing over who gets to keep the jetpack. Love's another kind of fight, and Mandalorians never back down from one. And for all the chaos, they do have rules. The Rezol Nar, the 6 actions, form the backbone of Mandalorian life. Wear armor, speak the language, defend yourself and your family, raise your children as Mandalorians. Contribute to the clan's welfare. When called to war, rally under the Mandalore. That's it. Simple, brutal, effective. You follow those and your family. You ignore them and you're an outsider. Speaking of outsiders, they can become Mandalorians too. Foundlings, they're called. Orphans rescued and raised in the way. It's part charity, part recruitment. You might not be born Mandalorian, but if you wear the armor and follow the creed, you're one of them. It's strangely wholesome for a culture that solves problems with rockets. Over time, you realize Mandalorians are less a species and more an idea. They come in all shapes and species. Humans, Twi'leks, Rhodians, even Trandoshans. What unites them isn't blood, it's belief. That's why the culture never dies. It hops planets like a stubborn flame. Let's add some tech talk, because no Mandalorian story's complete without gadgets. Your armor's basically a walking toolbox. You've got a flamethrower on the wrist, a grapple line, dart launchers, a targeting visor, and the famous jetpack that everyone pretends to master on the first try. The armor's modular, customizable, and deeply personal. Every piece reflects who you are, or who you've outlived. Then there's the jetpack etiquette. Don't ignite indoors. Don't try to impress your date by hovering near the ceiling. Everyone's tried it, everyone's crashed. When you take jobs off-world, people treat you like walking legends. Some fear you, some admire you, most just want to stay out of your way. You represent centuries of reputation. The galaxy's favourite contradiction, noble warriors for hire. Still, it's not all glamour. Your armour gets heavy, your credits run thin, and your contracts rarely go smoothly. Every mission ends with either victory or a story about how your jetpack exploded mid-chase. You collect bruises like trophies, and you laugh about it later over drinks. Because that's what Mandalorians do. They turn survival into tradition. When you're older, you start understanding what the way really means. It's not just rules, it's resilience. It's the idea that no matter how many times your people are scattered, you rebuild. You reforge yourself the same way you reforge Beskar, through fire. And even when the galaxy moves on, new empires rise. New wars start. Mandalorians keep showing up. Someone always rebuilds the armor, picks up the creed, and says the line that never seems to go out of style. This is the way. You smile under the helmet because you finally get it. The galaxy can call you mercenary, fanatic, or relic. You don't care. You're Mandalorian. You've got a jetpack, a code, and a story that refuses to end. Okay, let's add some more planets here. You know, every time people talk about Naboo, they describe it like a travel brochure. Green meadows, lakes so shiny, you can see your reflection in 4K. Beautiful architecture, elegant people in fancy robes. You look at it and think, man, being born there must be great. Yeah, sure, until you realise that half the planet lives underwater. The other half elects teenagers to run the government, and every 20 years or so, someone decides to invade. Being born on Naboo sounds luxurious until you actually live there. You grow up surrounded by art, culture, and political drama that never ends. The people are polite, well-dressed, and way too obsessed with image. It's the kind of place where you can't even walk into a cafe without hearing someone argue about trade routes or taxation. Naboo's economy runs on plasma exports, that blue energy mined from the planet's core. But you'll never hear that mentioned at dinner. They'd rather talk about fashion and philosophy while pretending everything's fine. Your childhood depends a lot on where you're born. If you're born near Theed, the capital, congratulations, you're growing up in Space Venice. You've got waterfalls, domed palaces, and more marble than a Jedi temple. You attend schools that teach you about civic duty and the importance of democracy. They make it sound noble. What they don't tell you is that democracy here means you could wake up one day and find out your new queen is 17. Yeah, that's not a joke. Naboo's monarchs are elected. Every few years, the people vote for a new king or queen, usually someone young enough to look photogenic, but old enough to sit through Senate meetings without falling asleep. You'd think they'd choose someone experienced, but Naboo believes youth brings purity, which is adorable until your planet gets invaded and your leader has to negotiate with a literal fish army. That's the thing. Naboo looks peaceful, but it's a political pressure cooker. The humans on the surface and the Gungans underwater don't exactly throw dinner parties together. The two societies coexisted for centuries without talking much, like awkward neighbours pretending not to hear each other through the wall. Humans built their shiny cities and art galleries, while the Gungans lived deep underwater in glowing bubble cities, perfecting the art of passive-aggressive isolation. If you're born Gungan, well, good luck. You're seen as primitive by the surface folks, even though your tech's actually pretty advanced. You grow up hearing stories about how humans took most of the land and left your people the swamps. Your culture's full of pride and frustration, proud of survival, frustrated at being treated like background characters in your own world. The one time the Gungans and humans finally united, it took a full-scale invasion by battle droids to make it happen. So yeah, teamwork isn't exactly Naboo's strong suit. Speaking of invasions, it happens more than you'd think. The Trade Federation's blockade is just the famous one. But even before that, Naboo's history is filled with power struggles and trade disputes. The planet's resources made it valuable, and its pacifism made it an easy target. Naboo doesn't keep a large standing army. They prefer negotiation and diplomacy, which sounds nice until you're standing on your balcony watching droid tanks roll into town. Now, let's talk about the system itself. Naboo's part of the Chomel sector in the mid-rim, meaning it's close enough to the core to act refined, but far enough to get ignored during galactic crises. The planet's government has two layers, the monarchy and the legislative assembly. The queen or king acts as head of state, while the assembly handles laws. It's a bit like having a fancy CEO who also does photo shoots, while the interns actually run the company. And you better believe image matters here. Naboo's people treat elegance like a moral value. You can't show up to a meeting in wrinkled clothes without someone assuming you're a criminal. Even their starships look like jewelry, polished chrome, sleek curves, not a single blaster mark. Everything's about presentation. The idea is that beauty reflects harmony. But deep down, you realize it's also a distraction. The shinier things look, the easier it is to hide the cracks underneath. Life as an average citizen isn't bad though. The air's clean, the food's organic, and the education system's solid. You can stroll by a waterfall on your way to work and still make it home before sunset. But there's a catch. Naboo's a small planet with big expectations. Everyone's expected to contribute to civic perfection, which basically means you spend your life trying to look productive while pretending you're not competing with everyone else. The real stress comes if you're ambitious. The political ladder here is brutal and very polite about it. People smile as they sabotage your career. Every handshake hides an agenda. You can't even compliment someone's robe without it sounding like a strategic move. By the time you reach the assembly, you've learned that politics on Naboo is like a beauty pageant, where everyone's armed with legal documents instead of blasters. And then there's the royal process. You grow up watching coronations like they're national holidays, and you start realizing the turnover's wild. Monarchs serve short terms, but they live under immense pressure. They're expected to be saints, diplomats, and style icons all at once. One wrong statement, and your approval rating nosedives faster than a pod racer. Being close to power on Naboo means being constantly nervous. Remember how we said the planet's peaceful? Yeah, that peace exists because everyone's terrified of losing it. Naboo's whole identity is built on maintaining harmony. No protests, no open conflict, no messy politics. Everything has to look graceful. If something goes wrong, they don't argue. They form committees. Committees are Naboo's version of trench warfare. And yet somehow, from this elegant soap opera of a planet, came Sheev Palpatine. Yep, the Emperor himself. The guy who turned democracy into a one-man show was born right here in Theed, sipping tea by the river while plotting galactic domination. That's the funniest part about Naboo. It produces both peace-loving artists and the galaxy's biggest Sith Lord. If that doesn't tell you how weird this planet is, nothing will. Palpatine's rise actually changed Naboo's reputation. For years after his empire took over, Naboo enjoyed special treatment, protected borders, trade advantages, and funding for reconstruction. The people called it favor from the Emperor. Everyone else called it corruption with better lighting. You couldn't criticize him publicly, not when your paycheck depended on his mood. So most people smiled and went along with it, pretending their planet was still a symbol of peace, while the rest of the galaxy burned. Let's say you're born into that post-Republic era. You'd grow up in a society that worships stability, but quietly knows it's bought. The veterans whisper about the Clone Wars, the teachers praise the Empire's security, and your history books mysteriously skip over how half your leaders vanished overnight. You learn to ask fewer questions. That's the Naboo way. But if you're born Gungan during the same time, your story's even stranger. After the Battle of Naboo, the Gungans finally got recognition. Boss Nass and General Jar Jar, somehow, represented their people in galactic politics. For a while, there was real unity. But then the Empire came, and the old divide crept back. The humans focused on their palaces and parades, while the Gungans slowly faded from the headlines. Same planet, two realities. One on land, one underwater, both pretending the other doesn't exist again. Culturally, Naboo thrives on art. Music, sculpture, poetry. They take it seriously. Kids grow up learning to paint or play instruments before they can drive a speeder. Your painting could get you an award or a government grant, or labelled as controversial expression undermining planetary values. Imagine getting arrested for bad poetry. The irony is, Naboo is genuinely beautiful. The planet has no industrial wastelands, no megacities choking the air. Nature and architecture blend perfectly, which makes it the worst place to live if you're allergic to pollen. The wildlife's harmless for the most part, though there are a few exceptions. Cardu, sharks, and of course the ocean's infamous Sando-Aqua monsters, massive beasts that make fishing a full-contact sport. You can't even take a swim without checking the weather, the tide, and your will. And if you think living underwater with the Gungans is safer, think again. Their cities, like Otoh Gunga, are gorgeous, glowing orbs, connected by translucent tunnels. But you're always one power failure away from being fish food. You learn to swim like a pro, and you learn fast. Because if the energy shield flickers, you've got about 3 seconds to say your prayers. Every planet in the galaxy has its version of bureaucracy. But Naboo's is a masterpiece. Want to buy property? You'll need 3 permits, 2 environmental assessments, and a royal signature. Want to start a business? Sure, as long as you pass the cultural harmony audit, whatever that means. Naboo's red tape is so thick you could use it to patch a hull breach. You're born on a planet that teaches you to smile, to agree, to blend in. Because on Naboo, harmony isn't natural, it's maintained. And that's why, for all its beauty, it still kinda sucks to be born there. You were born on Alderaan, which for most of your life sounds like the ultimate win. Picture it. Clean air, snow-capped mountains, cities that float between forests, and lakes like they're allergic to pollution. People on other planets dream about living somewhere like this. Alderaan's the kind of place travel guides call serene and poets call a glimpse of heaven. And yeah, it really is that perfect, right up until it gets blown into cosmic confetti. Because one guy decided to make an example. Growing up here, You're told Alderaan is the galaxy's moral compass. It's not a world of soldiers and weapons. It's a planet of thinkers, artists, and diplomats who believe peace isn't a weakness, it's civilization. From the moment you can walk, you're taught about compassion, ethics, and responsibility. School lessons aren't just math and science. You get ethical philosophy 101 before puberty. Other planets have sports teams. Alderaan has debate clubs that could end wars. The planet itself is a masterpiece. You wake up every morning to the sight of the Alderaan mountain range, glowing orange in the sunrise. You can take a speeder out past the rivers and smell actual clean air, something Coruscant citizens think is a myth. There are forests, crystal lakes, and wildlife that's more likely to nibble your snacks than eat you alive. People jog by waterfalls like they're living in a postcard. Culturally, Alderaan's all about peace and balance. After centuries of conflict back in the Old Republic era, they swore off war for good. No armies, no weapons manufacturing, no standing fleets. They believed diplomacy could handle everything. It's noble, sure, until you remember that the galaxy's full of people who don't share that mindset. It's like living in a neighborhood where everyone carries a blaster except you, and you're convinced good manners will protect you. Bail Organa, the senator, was one of the most respected politicians in the Republic. People trusted him, and for good reason. He wasn't corrupt, he wasn't power-hungry, which in galactic politics made him an endangered species. He and his wife, Queen Breha, ran Alderaan like parents run a really idealistic household, with love, rules, and a firm belief that peace was worth any price. And then there's Leia, princess, diplomat, and easily the only teenager in history who could insult Darth Vader to his face and live long enough to regret it. If you grew up on Alderaan, she's basically a celebrity. Kids had posters of her next to holo recordings of artists and scientists. She was proof that Alderaan raised people who made a difference. But here's the thing about Alderaan's peace-loving reputation. It had layers on the surface. It was all pacifism and education. But beneath that calm exterior, the royal family was quietly funding the rebellion. Bail Organa didn't just talk about peace, he took risks for it. Secret meetings, hidden bases, coded transmissions, all under the Empire's nose. Alderaan was the heart of quiet resistance, the kind that smiles politely in public, while secretly smuggling blasters through diplomatic channels. If you were a teenager during that time, you'd hear rumours, whispered talk about deliveries that weren't food, research grants that were actually funding starfighter construction, and refugees who looked suspiciously like rebel pilots. Everyone sort of knew, but nobody said anything. Alderaan didn't raise snitches, it raised idealists. People who believed that the ends justified the paperwork. Every citizen believed the Empire would leave them alone because, well, Alderaan didn't cause trouble. The logic went, we're peaceful, cultured, and important to the Senate. What could possibly happen? You'd think a planet that intelligent would have seen the writing on the wall when Palpatine dissolved the Senate. But no, Alderaan believed in order and law too much to imagine someone blowing it all up. And then came that day. You're going about your life, maybe teaching, maybe studying, maybe drinking tea on a balcony that's way too perfect. And suddenly the sky goes bright. A few billion lives erased in the blink of an eye. They didn't even target a military world. They targeted the planet that believed in peace the most. That was the point. The message was clear. If we can do this to Alderaan, imagine what we'll do to you. It's wild how fast that single event changed everything. The destruction of Alderaan was the Empire's PR disaster. Before that, most citizens still bought the stability and safety line. After that, everyone knew they were ruled by monsters. Entire systems started sympathizing with the rebellion overnight. You can only vaporize a paradise once before people stop trusting your definition of order. But back to you. Being born on Alderaan meant growing up with high ideals, good manners, and a belief that peace was possible. It also meant your home was built on faith in systems that ultimately failed you. For survivors, and yeah, there were a few off-world, the guilt was unbearable. Some were students studying on Coruscant, traders off-planet, or diplomats away on missions. They watched their world vanish from light years away. Imagine that. Watching your home planet disappear on the evening holo news while stormtroopers tell you not to panic, you can't go back. Can't even bury anyone because there's nothing left to bury. The survivors became something like ghosts with paperwork. The New Republic later gave them refugee status, land grants, and even a new world, New Alderaan. But it wasn't the same. You can rebuild cities, but not memories. Every survivor carried that weird Alderaanian politeness into grief. They'd host charity events, fund schools, and smile through it all, but you could see the emptiness behind their eyes. Culturally, Alderaan's legacy didn't die. The people were too stubborn for that. Their art, music, and philosophy spread across the galaxy. Universities were rebuilt in exile, using old teachings and fragments of data retrieved from orbit. Alderaanians became the diplomats of every new government, calm, rational, painfully hopeful. Even when history proved optimism didn't save them the first time, they kept trying. If you were born there, your story's a tragedy without closure. There's no revenge arc, no redemption. You were raised to believe kindness could change the galaxy, and instead, the galaxy used your planet as target practice. You didn't die in battle or rebellion, you died in someone else's message. So yeah, being born on Alderaan, it's paradise until it's gone. You live your whole life believing in peace, and then you die because someone wanted to prove peace doesn't matter. You get turned into stardust because a man in black armor needed to make a point. And somewhere out there, pieces of your world are still floating in space, silent reminders that even the best places in the galaxy aren't safe from the worst people. That's why it really sucks to be born on Alderaan. So, you were born a rebel. Sounds cool, right? Freedom, courage, sticking it to the Empire, all that inspiring poster stuff. But all this freedom mostly involves cold nights, wet boots, and eating the same ration bar for 3 days straight because the supply run got ambushed. Nobody tells you rebellion tastes like disappointment and powdered protein. Your childhood probably started on the run. Maybe your parents were part of the early resistance cells. The ones that started before the rebellion even had a logo. Maybe they were farmers on some backwater world who got tired of seeing stormtroopers use their land for target practice. Either way, you grow up knowing the sound of a blaster before you learn how to spell your name. The rebellion wasn't one big army at first. It was a patchwork quilt of angry people. Smugglers, deserters, senators, pacifists, even ex-Imperial officers. Everyone had different reasons, but the same enemy. One guy joined because the Empire burned his farm. Another joined because his wife got arrested for unpatriotic speech. The funny thing is, half of them hated authority so much they barely followed orders, even inside the rebellion. Eventually, all those scattered groups got stitched together. That's when the Rebel Alliance became official. The Alliance to restore the Republic. Sounds fancy, but really, it was a few desperate people in secret meetings, pretending they had a plan. The glue that held it all together was leadership. People like Mon Mothma, Bail Organa, they were the brains. The rest were the brawn. And you? You're somewhere in the middle, trying not to die in a trench, while wondering who approved this whole fight a galactic empire with duct-taped starfighters idea. Training as a rebel fighter isn't exactly military school. You don't get crisp uniforms or fancy drills. You get told where the blasters are, how not to shoot your own foot, and which side of the X-Wing is the front. The instructors are ex-military who quit because they couldn't handle the Empire's cruelty, or smugglers who got drafted into command because they were the only ones who knew how to fly in a straight line. The Rebellion's tech is creative. Most ships are patched together from whatever they can find. Old Republic cruisers, stolen TIE parts, or ships they literally pulled out of scrapyards. You'll fly something with half its paint burned off and call it a miracle if all 4 engines start at the same time. The maintenance crews are heroes. They spend their nights welding holes with hope and caffeine. Life on a rebel base is nothing like the recruitment posters. You're constantly moving. Every time the Empire sniffs your location, you pack everything and relocate halfway across the galaxy. Yavin 4, Hoth, Tatooine, Atollan. It's a tour of the least comfortable planets ever discovered. If it's humid, freezing, or full of dangerous wildlife, odds are the rebellion set up camp there. Your bunk is usually a metal cot, your room smells like damp uniforms, and your alarm clock is a malfunctioning droid rolling into your tent at 4 AM. Because when you're a rebel, morning is whenever the next attack happens. And don't get me started on food. The rebellion's diet is a war crime in itself. Every once in a while, someone scores real food. Corellian bread, Alderaanian wine, roasted meat. And for 5 minutes, everyone remembers what civilization feels like. Then the next siren goes off, and you're back to eating anxiety for dinner. Funding's a constant headache. You don't have an economy. You have donations, favors, and stolen credits. Some wealthy supporters funnel money through shell companies. Others send humanitarian aid that somehow includes laser cannons. You've got smugglers like Han Solo and Lando doing discreet acquisitions, which is rebel speak for stealing from the Empire with flair. And every shipment feels like a miracle that might get shot down halfway through hyperspace. The leadership loves talking about principles. We fight for freedom. We stand for the people. It's inspiring, until you're knee-deep in mud fixing a generator that's about to explode. In those moments, freedom feels like bad plumbing and frostbite. But even through all that, the rebellion has a soul. You notice it in small things. The mechanic who hums old Republic songs while patching holes in starfighters. The pilot who paints lucky streaks on their X-Wing after every mission. The medics who treat Stormtroopers and rebels the same when the shooting's done. Everyone's tired, everyone's scared, but somehow everyone still cares. You learn to trust fast because you have to. Your squad becomes family. You eat together, sleep together, panic together. You joke around to keep the fear away, even though deep down, you know half of you won't be there when it's over. Every mission's a gamble. Maybe you're flying in an X-Wing. Maybe you're sneaking data through Imperial checkpoints disguised as a delivery droid. Either way, you're outnumbered and outgunned every single time. You rely on improvisation and luck, mostly luck. That's the secret weapon of the rebellion. Let's talk a bit about how it's all structured, because that's what keeps it from collapsing. You've got the Alliance High Command, the brains behind the chaos under them. Each cell operates semi-independently, different regions, different specialties. The Fleet Command handles starfighter ops, Intelligence deals with sabotage and espionage, and Spec Force runs ground missions. Everyone reports up eventually, but it's messy. The rebellion isn't a clean chain of command. It's more like a bunch of competent people trying to coordinate by yelling across the galaxy. The bases themselves are works of art. Yavin the Four's base, hidden in ancient temples, crawling with wildlife, and powered by machinery older than your parents. Hoth, basically a refrigerator with lasers. You spend half your time freezing and the other half digging tunnels so snow doesn't collapse your bedroom. And the smell? Nothing quite says hero of the galaxy like living next to a torn pen. Yet every time you relocate, there's a weird sense of excitement. New planet, new dangers, same mission. You start to see beauty in the chaos, in the flicker of blue holograms during briefings, in the hum of starships lifting off, in the adrenaline rush right before a battle. You realize the rebellion runs not on money or weapons, but on stubborn hope, and the hope's contagious. You meet people from every corner of the galaxy, Twi'leks, Mon Calamari, Bothans, humans, droids, everyone united by one shared belief. The Empire can't win forever. Still, you can't ignore the cost. You keep a list of names in your pocket that gets longer every month. When Command calls it a strategic setback, you call it losing someone who made bad coffee but great jokes. Morale's weird in the rebellion. You can go from laughing around a campfire to crying over an empty bunk in a day. There's a lot of guilt too. Survivor's guilt, deserter's guilt, the kind that sneaks up on you after every victory. You blow up a Death Star, and all you can think about are the lives lost along the way. The rebellion's victories are always bittersweet. Every win leaves ashes behind, then there's the politics. Even rebels have paperwork. Every mission needs approval from 3 departments and a committee that debates for hours about whether blowing up a factory violates ethical combat guidelines. You start missing the simplicity of shoot bad guys. But bureaucracy sneaks in everywhere, even in the fight for freedom. Let's not forget the droids. They're everywhere. Astromechs fixing ships, protocol droids translating alien rants, and battle droids reprogrammed to serve coffee. Half of them are smarter than the officers giving orders. The day the first Death Star blows up, everything changes. The cheer that erupts in the base is unlike anything you've ever heard. For once, the galaxy feels possible again. You cry, you laugh, you drink recycled water like it's champagne. But then reality hits. The Empire's not gone. You just poked a rancor with a stick. Life as a rebel fighter never gets easy, but it gets meaningful. Every person you save, every world you liberate, adds another reason to keep going. You stop dreaming about comfort and start dreaming about tomorrow. That's what rebellion does to you. It replaces fear with purpose. When people call you a hero later, you'll probably laugh. Heroes sleep in beds, eat full meals, and get holidays. You were just a hungry, exhausted, hopeful mess who refused to quit. Every age in Star Wars has its own version of "we've finally figured it out," and every one of them ends with a spectacular crash. So let's touch some eras. See what kind of life you'd have if the Force decided to drop you into one of the Republics. Spoiler, it's probably miserable. Everyone dreams about being born during one of the Republic eras, right? Civilization, peace, Jedi Knights, democracy. Sounds great on paper, until you actually have to live there. The galaxy has gone through more versions of the Republic than Corellia's had ship recalls, and each one somehow manages to suck in its own creative way. Let's start at the beginning, before anyone even knew what a Republic was. The galaxy is a mess of isolated planets, everyone minding their own business, and hyperspace travel is so new that every jump is basically a suicide attempt. You can't call your friends on another world because there's no another world in your vocabulary yet. Each planet thinks it's the center of existence. Then come the Rakata, the infinite empire. The name alone tells you how humble they are. They're a bunch of hairless, Force-sensitive tyrants who use dark side energy to power their technology, their idea of innovation, conquering entire species and building factories powered by pain. If you're born under them, congratulations, you're probably an unpaid intern for eternity. The Rakata enslave billions, drain stars, and use a machine called the Starforge that basically manufactures ships out of sunlight and suffering. Life expectancy? About the length of a bad lunch break. But nothing that evil lasts forever. The Rakata burn themselves out with infighting and a mysterious plague that disconnects them from the Force. Suddenly the galaxy's free, but it's also clueless. You're living in the ruins of someone else's apocalypse, surrounded by half-working tech and planets, trying to figure out what a constitution is. Out of this chaos, a few brave explorers from Corellia and Coruscant start mapping hyperspace routes. They connect dots on a galactic scale, and the first version of the Galactic Republic is born. A handful of planets sign treaties, swear eternal friendship, and immediately start arguing about taxes. Civilization has officially begun. If you're born around this time, things look promising. You've got order, trade, diplomacy, and for the first time ever, customer service that spans light years. The Jedi Order also emerges from an older group called the Jedi, who used to balance light and dark like they were running an ethical experiment. The Jedi decide balance is overrated and go full light side. They become the Guardians of Peace, which in Star Wars always means full-time damage control. You grow up thinking the Republic will last forever. The Great Hyperspace War begins. If you're alive then, good luck. Planets burn, hyperspace routes collapse, and your school homework is now evacuate. The Jedi barely save the Republic. The Sith scatter, and everyone sighs in relief while pretending this won't happen again. Centuries roll by, and the Republic calls itself old because it feels ancient and wise. Really, it's just tired. You're born in this so-called old Republic, where democracy and corruption live together like an old married couple that refuses to divorce. On Coruscant, senators give speeches about justice, while lobbyists hand them dinner invitations. Out in the Outer Rim, farmers are paying taxes to a government they've never met. You learn that freedom mostly means long meetings. The Jedi are everywhere, but they're stretched thin, jumping from crisis to crisis because the galaxy can't go 5 minutes without producing a Sith Lord. One year it's Exar Kun, next it's Darth Revan, then Darth Malak. The Jedi beat them, rebuild, and repeat. It's like a 1,000-year game of whack-a-mole with more explosions. Day-to-day life isn't terrible if you're in the core worlds. You get shiny towers, art museums, and schools that teach you 12 languages before breakfast. But if you're born anywhere past the mid-rim, you're a line item on a senator's spreadsheet. You hear about the Republic's noble ideals, while smugglers rob your trade route and pirates charge tolls the government should be collecting. The Jedi keep saying they serve the will of the Force, but half the time, the Force seems to have a terrible sense of humour. Eventually, centuries of fighting and exhaustion mellow into something new. People are sick of war. The Sith vanish, or maybe they're just napping, and the Republic takes a deep breath. The galaxy gets its spa decade, the High Republic era. Now, being born here is like waking up in a brochure. Everything's shiny, peaceful, optimistic. The Jedi aren't generals, they're explorers and scientists. They build the Starlight Beacon, a massive station meant to connect everyone across the stars. The Chancellor, Lina So, gives inspirational speeches about unity and hope. You're told you live in the golden age of civilization, and honestly, it kind of feels true. Travel's safe, trade's booming, and if you trip and fall, a Jedi probably helps you up and gives you a motivational quote. But perfection gets boring, and the galaxy hates boredom. Along come the Nihil, a pack of anarchist raiders who weaponize chaos. They pop out of hyperspace at random, rob everything, and vanish before anyone can respond. The Republic calls them terrorists. The rest of us call them proof that no amount of marble architecture can stop crazy. Still, the High Republic keeps shining. When the great hyperspace disaster scatters wreckage across the galaxy, the Jedi save millions. People cheer, but you start noticing cracks. Outer Rim worlds feel ignored. Local governors get greedy, and the Republic spreads itself too thin. Peace slowly turns into complacency. The Senate becomes a stage show, and the Jedi start believing their own press releases. Being born here is like living in a perfect city, built on a sinkhole. You don't see the problem until the ground gives out. Give it another few centuries, and you're reborn in the sleek, chrome-plated Republic everyone knows from the prequels. Coruscant gleams, Naboo's hosting pageants, and people still believe the system works. The Senate's enormous, full of elegant speeches and zero results. The Jedi now live in a skyscraper with a strict dress code. They call themselves Guardians of Peace, but mostly they act like intergalactic bureaucrats with glow sticks. If you live on a wealthy world, you're doing fine. If you live anywhere near the Outer Rim, you're working double shifts while senators debate the ethics of helping you. You start hearing whispers about separatists, taxes, and trade routes. Everyone's tense, but nobody thinks it'll explode until it does. The Clone Wars arrive, and your galaxy goes from peaceful to please hold while we mobilize overnight. The Republic builds an army of identical soldiers, clones grown for obedience, and sends them to die in wars you never voted for. The Jedi, once philosophers, now command troops. If you're born during this mess, childhood means air raid drills and ration cards. You grow up watching heroes burn out and villains rise quietly behind the curtain. The war ends with applause, fireworks, and a new emperor. The people cheer for stability, while democracy quietly stops breathing. At this point, if you're keeping score, the Republic has collapsed more times than most droids reboot. So let's skip the Empire years, because if you're born there, the only career options are soldier, slave, or dust, and jump to the next fresh start. You wake up in the New Republic, post-Endor. The rebellion's won, the Emperor's toast, and optimism's back on the menu. You'd think this time it'll finally work. At first it does. The Senate reforms, worlds rebuild, and everyone swears they've learned their lesson. Kids study history like it's a cautionary tale, and the galaxy actually feels free again. Leia's a leader, Mon Mothma's chancellor, and Han's probably banned from most official events for celebrating too loudly. The New Republic even demilitarizes, because what could possibly go wrong? They believe peace is self-sustaining, like a droid that never needs oil. You get whole planets of idealists turning their blasters into museum pieces, while the Outer Rim quietly fills up with ex-Imperials, painting over Stormtrooper helmets and calling themselves security consultants. Day-to-day life's comfortable. You can travel, trade, start a business, complain about taxes without disappearing, but the system's slow, painfully slow. Every decision needs 12 committees. You could age a decade waiting for the Senate to approve a new flight path. It's democracy at dial-up speed. Meanwhile, the First Order is quietly building fleets in the unknown regions. Leia warns everyone, but politics turns on her the second she admits she's Darth Vader's kid, because apparently saving the galaxy doesn't outweigh bad family history. She leaves, forms the resistance, and the New Republic politely pretends she doesn't exist. If you're born during this era, you grow up in the calm before another storm. You see prosperity, but it feels borrowed. The Senate rotates its capital from planet to planet, which sounds inclusive until you realize they lose the furniture every time. The Republic's motto might as well be, "We're working on it." And then one day, a planet-sized cannon fires across the galaxy and vaporizes the capital system in a single shot. You're watching the news, sipping caf, and suddenly the skyline outside turns white. History repeats again, but louder. The New Republic joins the long list of good intentions turned into cosmic dust. Looking back, you start to notice the pattern. Every republic starts with unity, grows into comfort, rots into bureaucracy, and dies to thunderous applause. The Jedi rise and fall with it, the Senate gives inspiring speeches, and ordinary people like you just keep surviving between explosions. Being born in the Republic, any republic, means inheriting someone else's optimism and someone else's mess. You get to believe in peace for a while, right until someone with a cape and daddy issues decides to prove you wrong. Still, there's something weirdly admirable about it. No matter how many times it collapses, the galaxy keeps trying again. Every generation rebuilds, rewrites the anthem, paints a fresh coat on the same old dream, hopes the one renewable resource in the galaxy, even if logic isn't. So, yeah, being born in Star Wars sounds amazing, until you realize every golden age ends in paperwork, panic, or planetary annihilation. The Old Republic gives you corruption, the High Republic gives you overconfidence, the Galactic Republic gives you fascism in disguise, and the New Republic gives you meetings until someone blows up your planet. Maybe that's why everyone loves the fantasy of it, but nobody wants to live there.